Brother lads, welcome back to the Cossy Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Welcome back to a brand new video. This is the latest Arsenal news and transfer news as well. Arsenal very close to agreeing personal terms with Merino. The player has been offered a new deal by Real Sociedad, but he's not interested in staying at the San Sebastian. He wants to move on. We are also going to talk about Emile Smith-Rowe. An agreement is getting closer and closer and closer between the two clubs. According to Fabrizio Romano, Fulham are offering 35 million and Arsenal saying that is enough. We will accept the deal. We'll be talking about the possibility of Eberechi Eze signing for Arsenal this summer. As ESR leaves, could we see Arsenal go for Eberechi Eze now? And then we'll also talk about a few of the other big transfers that are happening around Arsenal at the moment, as Ricardo Calafiori's medical is happening in London as we speak. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well, and let's get into it. Now, let's start off with that big story on Ricardo Calafiori just a little bit. Fabrizio Romano has confirmed that the first part of the medicals for Ricardo Calafiori are going to take place in London, not in the USA, as he had reported earlier on. So, of course, yesterday he said that his medicals were going to be in Los Angeles, in the USA, but he has reiterated that, and he said Arsenal have made a new plan, a new schedule for the medicals of the player. First part in London and second part in the LA in the USA. So there's no problem with that deal. It's just a difference in the schedule. I was also surprised because most of the time Arsenal medicals happen at the London Colony. Most of the time they happen at the London Colony, and then the player can actually travel to wherever the team is. So that's not going to be any different from Ricardo Calafiori, who's going to have his first part of the medicals in London, and then later on he'll have part 2 of the tests in the USA, and then he will sign and be confirmed as an Arsenal player. Remember, we already have here we go on that one from Fabrizio Romano. Another deal that we expect Arsenal to get here we go on very soon should be the Merino deal, as more reports now from Spain are confirming that despite the new deal being offered to Merino by Real Sociedad, the player has already taken his decision to leave Sociedad for all practical purposes. Arsenal best placed and can focus on the deal now that the Ricardo Calafiori deal is done. So we are also getting reports that Arsenal are getting closer and closer on agreeing personal terms with Merino, as now they can focus on that deal. For me, I think the Ricardo Calafiori deal was in the way of this one. Arsenal wanted to focus on Calafiori, make sure that nothing goes wrong, make sure that you don't get any possibilities of hijack. And after that, we were always going to work on this one. We're always going to work on the midfield. Now, we know that midfield is a big priority for Mikel Arteta. And with Emile Smith-Rowe leaving, it is now 99.9999% that Arsenal will sign a new midfielder. Of course, we have Fabio Vieira, we have Ethan Nwaneri, but if you're losing a player that has been putting on your shirt number 10, there is a big possibility that you replace him. There's a big possibility that you get in a player. Now, there are more reports saying that Emile Smith-Rowe is going to be replaced by Merino at Arsenal. What I don't know here is that, is he going to replace him in terms of role in the squad, or is he just going to come in and become an important player, an important player in terms of the starting 11, and then we can also go and get in, another player who takes the role of Emile Smith-Rowe, a player who comes off the bench, and then things like that. So I won't be surprised if we get 2 midfielders this summer. I'm not saying it's a concrete possibility. I'm saying it's no surprise. It won't be a surprise to me if Arsenal sign Merino and then we sign another midfielder, not only to replace ESR, but remember, the Partey situation is still a worry. Remember that we still have to deal with the departure of players like El Neni as well. So we might see 2 midfielders come in at Arsenal this summer. So the player is not interested in staying with La Real, although they are giving him a new deal. He's saying, I want to move on. I want to go somewhere else. I want to, create my own future. I want to, end my career on a high note. And at the San Sebastian at the moment, you're not offering me good money, first and foremost, but then you're also not offering me a chance and a shot at real silverware. And of course, as a player that has won the Euros now with Spain, he knows what silverware feels like. He knows what, he knows what it feels like to win. such players are very, very hard to keep in the side. When a player wants to win, Arsenal have been there. The likes of Fabregas, the likes of Van Persie, the likes of Samuel Nasri. When a player wants to win, you can't keep them in your side. So Arsenal getting closer to personal terms with Merino. We hope that that agreement strikes in very quickly and very soon, because it's going to allow us to have an advantage over all the clubs that are interested in Mikel Merino. Now, Emil Smith Rowe, finally, we have information that is heartbreaking but concrete. It all started off with an exclusive from David Ornstein yesterday, when he confirmed that Fulham are close to reaching an agreement with Arsenal to sign Emil Smith Rowe. Talks over a move worth up to 35 million ongoing. It would be a record recruit for Fulham FC, plus it would match the biggest offer Arsenal have ever had for a player in terms of a sale. That is Florian Balogun way back in the last summer. If a deal is struck, the 23-year-old is expected to do medicals and finalize terms with I was about to say with the Athletic, with Fulham, as per the Athletic. That story has been collaborated by Fabrizio, who has said that Fulham have sent in a new bid to Arsenal for Emil Smith Rowe. Proposal thought to be worth 41 million euros, around 35 million pounds. Fulham have now moved ahead of Crystal Palace for the player's signature. Now, we understand here that Crystal Palace have him as a very important key signing for them, as per Oliver Glasner's request. The manager asked Crystal Palace. Today, Fabrizio has also given us an update as well, and he said Emil Smith Rowe is getting closer and closer to joining Fulham. Arteta said there are things happening in the background, or there are things happening in the background at the moment. We decided the best thing to do was to keep him away from the game in order not to risk any bad or difficult situation. So that is where we are with your boy, my boy, Emil Smith Rowe. It is getting closer and closer and closer. It's more likely that Arsenal will cash in on Emil Smith Rowe rather than not. Now, of course, he didn't play in the game that we played yesterday. Arsenal kept him out of that game just to make sure that he doesn't pick up any injuries, and that is what shows you that a deal is almost done. Because when you think about Reece Nelson, Arsenal in negotiations with Leicester for Reece Nelson. Reece Nelson played in that game, and he even managed an assist as well. Edin Nketiah, Arsenal are in talks with Marseille over a deal to sign Edin Nketiah, but I can tell you that Arsenal played Edin Nketiah in that game. So the difference between Emil Smith Rowe, Edin Nketiah, and Reece Nelson is this. I think 3 deals are close, and I won't be surprised for all 3 players to not finish up our preseason in a tour. I won't be surprised that this week we get a here we go for Crystal Palace. Sorry, for Emil Smith Rowe and Fulham. And then we get a here we go early next week. And then before we even complete the tour, we get a here we go for Reece Nelson or Edin Nketiah. So a deal, guys, is very close, and it is high time to say goodbye to Emil Smith Rowe. But also it's high time to talk about his replacement, and then I would say maybe share our thoughts on this deal. I want to start off by saying that it's game time, isn't it? It's game time. I'm really heartbroken about this one. When I saw it, I really felt very bad, and that's why I've not done a video until like 20 hours later, maybe 15 hours later. It took me time to sit down and process this and decide that I was going to do a video. It's the time for me to do a video. Now, with Emil Smith Rowe, it's the game time. I think as a 23-year-old player soon turning 24, he's looking at all the talent ahead of him for the England national team, and he's saying, I don't think I compete with these guys if I'm at Arsenal. And he's right. You cannot compete with Phil Foden, Jude Bellingham, Bukayo Saka while you are at Arsenal sitting on the bench. If he wants to play in the World Cup 2026, if he wants to play a part in the upcoming editions of the Euros and the World Cup for England, He's got to go and find regular game time. Even the likes of Eberechi Eze, who are behind him, are now in front of him. So the decision to leave Arsenal has been geared and has been fueled by the fact that he understands Arsenal would love to keep him, but they cannot give him the game time he requires. They cannot give him, fast team football. And the decision, according to The Athletic, David Onsen says that his decision and his excitement is about playing on a regular basis and playing game in, game out. And obviously, it's gonna stay in London with Fulham. That's not a bad shot. But for me, it's about game time. He's not a bad player. He is a real talent. He is a massively talented player. But if you cannot stay fit, if you cannot give consistency, if the manager cannot trust you to the extent that he knows I have Smith Rowe for 30 games, then you cannot blame Mikel Arteta. And I know a few people are angry at Mikel Arteta for selling him and letting him go, and maybe not giving him enough game time. And I was angry at him as well. But when I thought about it, are we really saying that Mikel Arteta is to blame for Emil Smith Rowe's injuries in the past 2 seasons? He's actually not to blame. He might be to blame for Saka's injuries. I could understand that. But with Emil Smith Rowe, the manager is not to blame. So the team has evolved quickly at a rate where Emil Smith Rowe feels like I would want to be part of this team, but it's going to take me some time to get back into the team. And I don't think as a player, he's ready to get back into the team. I think he's ready, but he is not ready to wait for a long time to get back into the team. His chance was Martinelli having a bad season. If Emil Smith Rowe was fit, that was his chance, right? That was his chance. If he had played maybe 25 games last season, and he had played well, and he had scored like 8 goals and assisted 5 times, no way Arsenal were going to sell him. No way Arsenal were going to accept any offers for Emil Smith Rowe. But because even when Martinelli, who we depended on, didn't play, and even when he didn't play well, Smith Rowe was nowhere to be seen. The decision was made internally that we will listen to offers, and the player also made his decision that he's gonna move on. And Fulham have given their best, and I think they will take him. Now, in terms of a sale, it's a very good one for Arsenal. I mean, from Arsenal's perspective, they're looking at pure profit. They're talking about 35 million. They could replace Emil Smith Rowe with Mikel Merino. Mikel Merino could cost a little bit less than 20 million pounds. So that is smart business for me. That is good business. That is smart business. I don't see how, in any way, shape, or form, Arsenal should be going, maybe the deal wasn't good enough. It was good, right? It was a good deal, and I don't want us to, feel sorry for ourselves. It's a good deal, and therefore you move on, right? We move on. We've got to move on from Emil Smith Rowe. The question is, who replaces him? Now, Eberechi Eze could come back in the news, first and foremost, because there are stories saying that Eberechi Eze could be the replacement that Arsenal want. This is English to English. We're losing a couple of homegrown players. You're thinking Emil Smith Rowe, you're thinking Ketia, you're thinking Reece Nelson. There might be, we might have to bring in some homegrown players. Of course, you have Ramsdale, if he leaves. Those are 4 homegrown players. Arsenal might have to at least bring in one. So Eberechi Eze could be the one. But why I think Eze is not the one, I'm looking at that 60 million, and I'm like, Emil Smith Rowe was not such an important player for Mikel Arteta last season. And the reason that's why Mikel Arteta wanted to keep him is he knows how good Emil Smith Rowe is, and he understands the quality Emil Smith Rowe provides when he's fit. So I don't think Arsenal are going to sell him for 35 million and replace him with an Eberechi Eze who is 60 million. No. So in terms of replacements, I think the most possible one and the most sensible one for ESR is Mikel Merino. In terms of the price is right. Less than 20 million pounds 28 years of age, very experienced. You can play him for 2 seasons, and then he quickly becomes into a squad player again. And I think he fits into what Mikel Arteta wants to do, and the footballing style he has had over the years, and Arsenal's footballing style under Mikel Arteta, the two are very compatible. So I think we're going to see Mikel Merino as replacement for Emil Smith-Rowe. Now, these are my final thoughts on ESR. Maybe not final thoughts, we'll talk about him more. But these are my thoughts on ESR as a player. He will do well, right? He will do well. Wherever he goes, Crystal Palace or Fulham, he's going to do well. I'm so afraid for him that he's going to Fulham, because Fulham give me the vibes of a team that could go down in the next 5 years. Crystal Palace are never going to go down. They will never go down. Like, it's the history and the future for them, they're not going down, Crystal Palace. So I would have wanted him to go to Crystal Palace, and probably, Oliver Glasner has a good project at the moment. Crystal Palace are playing some proper ball. They have legs of Adam Watson, Eberechi Eze there in that team. They're making some good signings in terms of Ismail Sarr as well. I'm looking at Palace as the good project, but wherever he goes, I'm going to bank on him, and I'm going to say he's going to do well.